And welcome back to Morning Thunder. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, we've got our good pal, Ford Branan. Ford, I feel like I just woke up from just like a 24-hour nap after that just brutal start for Game 4. But the Oklahoma City Thunder sweep the Los Angeles Lakers. They're 8-0 in the NBA playoffs, a franchise high. And they await the winner of the Minnesota Timberwolves and San Antonio Spurs. Recording this on May 13th. So the Spurs have a 3-2 lead series going back to Minnesota for Game 6 on Friday. But before we talk about that, let's talk a little bit, wrap up the Thunder Lakers series a little bit. What are your thoughts? Did this go how you thought? Did this go to plan in your mind, or are you impressed with the Thunder sweep here? What do you think?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is now I'm frightened that the entire rest of the league is aware of who AJ Mitchell is. now I'm frightened because now every GM in the country, in the organization is going to be looking at how deep the Thunder roster is, and they probably have a good idea that they can pry him away, So that's my main concern coming out from the series, even though we just swept the Lakers and we went 8-0 in the postseason for the first time in our franchise history, which is phenomenal.
Here's my thing. I'll push back on that a little bit because I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, how are we going to keep AJ Mitchell? How are we going to, what are we going to do salary-wise?
He's a superstar now, dude. He is becoming a superstar.
No, I totally agree. And it's one of those, you really need to find a way to keep him. Sam Presti has a laundry list of things he needs to do in the offseason. A lot of tough decisions to be made. But one of those things is going to be potentially maybe trying to extend AJ Mitchell, trying to get ahead of it. I'm not sure what's going to happen. And when the offseason comes, either in after a Thunder title or a Thunder defeat in the NBA Finals or Western Conference Finals, we can talk about that. But my thing is, these are the good like the good days. It will not. It will take a lot to get better than this right now, where you have a roster
100%.
Where you have a roster this deep, this talented, you have the stars on it the way you do. I feel like in a way it's like AJ Mitchell, there's going to come a day when he's probably going to leave, either in 2 years when his contract's up or 4. But the thing is, you have time to really cherish and treasure these guys. You have time to cherish the depth, because one of these days, this era is going to end. Shai, J-Dub, Chet, all of your favorite players are going to leave and they're going to reset. And instead of trying to figure out ways and worrying about how to prolong the inevitable of this era ending and everything resetting, it's almost like I implore Thunder fans to just soak it up and focus on the moment, because, even though there are going to be tough times ahead, these are the great times. And I know you can do two things at once, but I think it's a good thing that we don't have to worry about an AJ Mitchell extension for another 2 years at the very least. So I'm intrigued to see how it all plays out. But what an absolute privilege to have our last the cheapest player on the entire roster be this good.
Okay, well, way to make me look like the asshole.
No, I'm not.
Damn, now I feel bad.
No, I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm not trying to talk down to you. I'm trying to say hey, look at how great this is. Look at the good, look at the bright side. Yeah.
Phenomenal. Like our second best player in Jalen Williams, goes out, and then AJ just picks up right where he left off and drops 3 straight 20 pieces. What was it? It was 20, 24, and 28, I think, in games 2, 3, and 4. Incredible stuff. He got whatever he wanted off the dribble, and it was amazing to watch, him bloom into the future superstar that he's becoming. Shai was, I think Shai, although he had a tough series in terms of offensive efficiency, and the Lakers, obviously that was their game plan, was we're going to make the rest of the Thunder beat you. We're going to focus. We're going to make sure that Shai doesn't, by doubling him. And I think he did a really good job of staying in not a score obviously his scoring rhythm was off, but he stayed in an offensive playmaking rhythm to allow the offense to continue to function. And I thought that really contributed to this sweep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, when Mark Daigneault said something after game four where he brought up, you know, even though the counting numbers weren't there for Shea in the same way that, you saw it in previous series, you know, outside of game four, which was excellent, 35 points, um, his impact was felt the entire time because the Lakers had to throw every single thing they had at him to slow him down. And Shea, being the smart, unselfish player he is, rightfully, allowed his teammates to just piece the Lakers apart. And that is what a leader does. That is what a star does. They know what to do in those moments. And whether or not people are like, oh, well, Shea's not that good because he wasn't able, because the Lakers slowed him down, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't matter to him. What matters to him is winning. And he did an excellent job at impacting winning at every single step of the way, even when he wasn't getting his. And I look at come away from the series, impressed with him because of that.
Mhm. Like I said it after the first 2 games, and I'll say it again. Let me pick up, where I left off. Um, like that philosophy to we're gonna just, throw the kitchen sink at Shea and make the rest of the team beat you, it's just not gonna work against the Lakers because we're so deep. But and I think I heard this, earlier yesterday, and I wanna bring this up that just kind of exemplifies the culture that we have, as a team, that we're all about winning and not individual stats, is in game 2 when Jared McCain was just lighting it up, in the second half. He had like 2 or 3 threes, sucked the life out of the Lakers in that fourth quarter and pulled away for the win. Isaiah Joe had his minutes taken away. Like he did. Didn't get to play at all. And there was this moment on the sideline where you could see Joe yelling at Mark Daigneault, but he wasn't yelling in angst. He was yelling, saying, run this certain play for Jared McCain. Like, that's incredible, dude, that you have a roster from top to bottom that is so committed to each other. And the brotherhood is so strong that all they want for each other is to succeed and win, dude.
Yep.
And that is such an X factor in a championship run.
Without a doubt. I mean, because the disease of, ego can, like, that's what kills every single championship team. That's what kills every single contender. And you got to give it up to Sam Presti for building the team with the right type of personalities, and you got to give it up to Mark Daigneault for instilling the culture the way he has. This organization, top to bottom, is built to sustain itself because it doesn't have those issues. I mean, you know, I feel like a lesser player, you know, I feel like in a situation you would applaud a guy for just being neutral, not doing anything at all, just sitting on the bench, not causing a problem. But not only was he not causing a problem, he's actively, you know, working up plays for him on the bench, because at the end of the day, that there's always a competition within the competition for minutes, for salary, for all of this, within team sports, within professional sports, your individual success, I mean, that's your livelihood right there. Um, so the ability to sacrifice that to make the team better, yeah, that's just special stuff.
Yeah, dude. I think, teams in the future are really gonna look at character more when it comes to scouting, for and during the draft combine. Like I think the Thunder has just been a gold standard, top of the line example, of how great character can make a huge impact on a winning team.
hmm Yeah, and I think that selfless team based approach that we've seen, the best teams, succeed with recently, it's overtaken the super team, big three era of team building. You really need depth to succeed. The Lakers could not match the Thunder's depth by any means.
No.
Even
No,
disre
dude,
even
Aaron
if you
Wiggins could play
yeah.
Aaron Wiggins could play 25 minutes on the Lakers, and he didn't play at all in this series.
He would have been
That's
the third
crazy.
best player on the Lakers. It would have been either him or Hachimura. Like, yeah. And yet he's, riding the pine in OKC. It's a testament to the team building. It's a testament to the unique structure that Presti has put together, and taking advantage of, young deals, smart deals, getting guys like Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins and Jay Will on good contracts. It's one of the best jobs anyone has done with team building. And I agree. You're going to see teams emulate that. The San Antonio Spurs, I feel like, are operating on this Thunder model, which was actually adapted from the original Spurs model.
Yeah.
So, and another
They're
team
copying us, bitch.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone's looking at each other's homework. That's how you get better. Another team that I feel like did a really good job with that was the Indiana Pacers last year. We're very similar to the Thunder in terms of their depth, in terms
Well,
of
look
how
that turned out.
It turned out. Look, I'm just saying it. I'm just saying that model works. I think
I'm just giving him grief for just having an absolute waste flop of a year. Like after the lottery results, which we'll get to later.
Yeah, that was just gutting. But no, I think the Thunder just. I mean, you couldn't be happier as a Thunder fan. And in terms of the happiest meter or the happiness meter as a fan, like this is like 10 out of 10. It does not get better than this. What we're in the midst of right now.
Dude, it just felt like the playoffs flew by.
Yeah.
Like it really did. Like we went 8-0, which is just incredible. I mean, that's when was the last time that happened? Was that 2017? Cavs that went I think they went 10-0.
Right.
Because they met the Raptors in the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah, and it went
the
6.
LeBronto year. Yeah. Yeah, I think
but
you're
still,
right.
I mean, I don't no disrespect. Well, actually kind of disrespect to the Eastern Conference at that time, which was just incomparably weak, compared to the Western Conference, in the last decade or two. But it feels like we're entering 2001 Lakers territory, Like it feels that level of dominance, not 2017 Cavs.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, the Cavaliers didn't have the San Antonio Spurs waiting for them.
That's what I'm saying.
This year's Spurs team is
I was like, oh, no disrespect. Well, actually, full disrespect.
Yeah,
the East was trash.
I mean, they really ran up against it once they hit the Warriors. Of course, I think the Warriors at one point had a 15-0 start and then lost a game to the Cavs.
But that. I don't know, that postseason's kind of tainted with the best player in every series, got injured with Kawhi, and remember Mike Conley and Zebo didn't play the full series in the Grizz one, and
yeah, and this path has set up pretty well for OKC. Getting a Phoenix team that was pretty beat up and had no match. The Lakers without Luka, I still think the Thunder would have rolled pretty good in that series and would have had a shot to sweep regardless. But getting to it's been just an incredible run. By the time they play game 1 of the Western Finals, they'll have only played, I think it's 8 games in 40 days. 8 games in 40 days is unreal. I gotta ask, I will say this, are you concerned about the rest versus rust factor of this? Because Shai kind of brought it up a little bit. I don't know.
I mean, a little. You saw that versus the Lakers, but you can also, testify that to be the Lakers' game plan with, doubling Shai, everything. But I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen it too much be a factor in history for me to be really concerned about it. And but this team is so battle tested and so mentally strong that I'm not going to worry about it.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, no real concern about rest versus rust at all, I would say.
No.
Yeah, no, and I think too, especially when you think about J-Dub's recovery and everything, that takes precedence over any sort of flow being out of rhythm, that sort of stuff. So I'm totally with you there in that discussion. Speaking of, J-Dub, by the way, the fact you did this where you essentially were resting J-Dub, because I think he probably could have come back during the series. It's very impressive. Just incredible stuff.
Mhm. Didn't that worked out so perfectly in a situation where we were able to g to rest him adequately, in a really in the time frame allotted, while going 8-0 in the playoffs, having AJ fill his role seamlessly. I don't think anything it couldn't have gone better.
Agreed. Agreed for sure. Um, okay, let's look a little bit ahead to the Western
Wait,
Conference
hold on.
Finals.
I
Or
wanna
go
I
ahead.
I I wanna add one more thing that I had about the Lakers series. Can we talk about just Chet for a moment on how phenomenal he was? Dude, you know what he shot in the restricted area?
Yeah,
His percentage, 97.1%
one
in the
shot.
restricted area.
He's missed
Dude,
one shot
that
through two
that's
rounds.
incredible, dude. He was
Unbelievable.
phenomenal,
No,
like, how incredible he was.
Chet Holmgren is an absolute. He has evolved and has become just an incredible. He's always been really good, but his what he has turned himself into, this role, this type of player, he's unreal.
Mhm.
I'm just so thrilled about that guy. Um, yeah, this team is beyond deep, beyond good. I'm so excited to see what happens and uh, going forward. I mean, you could just talk constantly, down the entire roster. Everyone's been humming. So pretty pumped about it. And, getting a guy like Jared McCain some minutes, having him hit big shots, having Joe look really, really good in the postseason has been awesome. Yeah. Couldn't be happy.
Man, Daryl Morey must be really down bad right now.
He's sold
Like,
high.
man, he must be really down bad.
I know he's probably, hey, look, he's got more time to play some Candy Crush in the hot tub, so at least he has that going for him. But
Yeah. For the
um,
viewers who are
no, we
unaware, he
don't,
got
we
let
don't, we
go
don't,
by
we don't,
the
we don't need to.
Sixers. Right?
No, we don't need to. We don't need to give more insight on that. But anyways, let's move on to the Western Conference Finals with the Spurs and the Spurs or the Wolves. Any chance the Wolves have at winning this series, Ford?
I feel like if last night was competitive, I would have absolutely said yes, but they got steamrolled in a game that they needed to come out, you know, like guns blazing. You after the message that Wemby sent you guys in Game 4, you guys needed to send one right back. You know, and I'm not saying like you got to go like sucker punch this guy, but like you needed to come out and really, I mean, not. I'm saying like the series is tied 2-2, dude. Game 5, the winner of Game 5 wins the series 90% of the time. You got to come
Mhm.
out, on all,
You got to go
yeah,
for the
yeah,
jugular
like firing on all cylinders. That's what I was
because if you
trying to go
win
for.
Game 5, you have Game 6 at home and you finish them off there. A- And it becomes less of a you start having to play from behind a bit.
Yeah,
Like Game 6. I mean, I'm not counting them out by any means. That's a back against the wall. It's always hard to the cornered dog is always the most dangerous one. That's kind of where the Wolves at here, and that Minnesota crowd will be loud. They'll be pissed off at Wimby, and then in a Game 7, anything can happen. The Wolves have experience winning Game 7s on the road. They beat the Nuggets
yeah,
in Game 7 a couple years ago. But yeah, you absolutely would have liked to send this thing back to Minnesota for Game 6. They had their moments. They were down 19, had that stormed back to cut it even, and fell apart promptly after that, which is brutal. But I don't think they're out of the woods yet. I just think that through 5 games, I think it's clear that the Spurs are way deeper, way better than the Wolves. It would
yeah,
be it'd be over if Wemby didn't get ejected in Game 4. I truly believe that.
yeah. It kind of feels like the Timberwolves have to have moments to win this series, and they just haven't had enough of those moments. you know. But after getting just the brakes beat off of them in Game 5, I'm just not very confident in Game 6. You know, I think Ant's been less efficient than I would want him to be, especially with all the doubles that are getting thrown at him. I just, yeah,
Well, when I mean, it's asking a lot of Ayo Dosunmu to be that second guy, scoring wise, and that's just how it is. When you're doubling Ant and they don't know what they're doing, and they're just not a very disciplined basketball team. They almost blew Game 4 because they couldn't find their way out of a double team.
Mhm.
They had never seen a double team in their entire lives. They're too unsteady. They're too wildly emotional in terms of their ups and downs. Like they're just not going to beat San Antonio twice. And one on the road. I just don't see it because they're too inconsistent. The Spurs, on the other hand, are very consistent. They're which is incredible for how young they are. They're really deep and they play like a team that is mature beyond their years. Which have you ever heard that one before?
Mhm.
and
It's a testament to the model and the culture that the Spurs built, that we
ab-
built off of, that.
absolutely, and it's yeah, I think that's going to prevail in the end for San Antonio, barring just some fireworks in Minnesota, which if I had to predict now, I'm going to predict it to go. I'm going to go ahead and predict it to go 7.
Really?
Um,
You
I
think
think
you think they're gonna take it in game 6?
I think they take it in Game 6. I think it's a really difficult thing to beat a team on the road in a Game 6 to close them out. I think that's something that takes time and experience, and you need a certain edge to it that is acquired over time. I feel like the Thunder struggled with that last year. They had opportunities to close out Indiana and Denver in Game 6s and just weren't quite able to, match that energy, which it it's human nature to be at a lower level than a team that's fighting for their damn lives. Like you can try to replicate it, you can try to tell yourself that it's, one way when it's the other way, but it's different than actually having it be that way. And you have to learn how to operate in that moment. And I don't know if San Antonio can. I could be wrong. I've been proven wrong about them a ton, but right now I think the Wolves extend this thing to 7.
I think that's a really good point, and I think if the Spurs do end up, closing it out in 6 in Minnesota with the wounded beast, back against the wall, especially with like Ant, if he goes for a 40 piece because he's going to bring it, I know he will. I think that exponentially moves up the timeline for the Spurs, and their dynasty, or this team's longevity, because that was one of the storylines that I was, looking at going into a potential Thunder Spurs Western Conference Finals matchup, was the experience and the pressure cooker of the Western Conference Finals and the moment that the Thunder, I mean, we've been here before. We're defending champs. So our team is so composed in these moments. How will the Spurs deal with that? You know, so I think that really is a storyline headed into Game 6.
Yeah, and I think they're getting better game by game. You can definitely tell they're improving at it. Um, so I'm interested to see how it pans out for them. Um, so what's your call? Spurs in 6 or this thing goes 7?
And I kind of think it goes 6. I
There you
think that I
go.
think I think Wemby's going to have a great game and they're going to close it out, dude, because they're more disciplined. They're just a more disciplined team, and that statistically beats a team that thrives on a roller coaster
Hmm.
like the Minnesota Timberwolves. So odds are the discipline beats that out.
I agree. I just think emotional high coming into Game 6. I think they'll ride that wave and then crash in Game 7, and the Spurs win big. So that's my call on it. Um, so I don't want to do too much of a deep dive, too much of a Western Conference Finals preview until we learn our opponent. But
Fair?
Ford, any thoughts on the Spurs going forward? I don't think we need to talk too much about the Wolves. With all due respect to them, we've seen that series last year. We know how we match up. We're very familiar. But the Spurs, what are the main differences about a potential Spurs matchup? Um, you know, from what we saw in the regular season, that particularly fraught 3-game stretch there, where the Thunder went 0-3 with, relatively some of the, like, relatively healthy, relatively evenly matched. Um, I think that's something that people are a little panicked about, given their bad track record against San Antonio in the regular season. But
Yeah.
what do you project is different?
I mean, yeah, I just went into it. It was the experience factor. I mean, this is if we end up matching up with the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals, they're in year 3 of the Wemby era. And they have little to no playoff experience at all. Like this is their first, correct? Yeah, this is their first. I wasn't gonna take the time to really think last year, but yeah, this is their first year in the playoffs, and to their credit, they've played really, really well. They've matched up to a 62 win team and their performance, but it was basically, I mean, I touched on it earlier. My main point was the experience factor. We're the defending champs. We've been here before. Our team is very composed, very mature in pressure moments, especially of the playoffs, and the intensity that a Western Conference Finals moment can bring. And the Spurs haven't been there. They haven't been there at all. And I think we've seen time and time again where a team, might get the better of someone in the regular season and come into that moment that they haven't been before, you know, with all the confidence, and then they get punched in the mouth and their entire game plan changes and they don't know how to deal with that moment. And I think we're gonna really see what they're made of in this Western Conference Finals.
I think it's just a different energy in the NBA playoffs for sure. Um, and I feel like if you want to point to something to feel a bit better about as a Thunder fan, you look at that second to last game where the Thunder were healthy, the Spurs were mostly healthy, and OKC just throttled them like after that second half. And that game at the time we said had like a playoff vibe to it, had a playoff energy. It's different. It's different when the blue shirts are out
Was
and you
that the
got
Christmas Day game?
yeah. No,
Yeah.
this was the one that happened later. We lost on Christmas. That was a disaster.
No, we won on Christmas, didn't
We
we?
lost on Christmas,
Or
dude.
no, wait, no,
You're mixing it
it
up.
was the game after.
Yeah, it was the
Didn't we
game
play 'em
after the
back to
Christmas.
back? Yeah, okay.
It was not back to back. It was so we played back to back, lost both of those, and then we played them like a month later in January and beat them.
Shit, okay. My brain was scrambled. It
No, you're good.
was a long 82, long 82.
Yeah, it was a long 82, and we played the Spurs 5 times, so it was a lot of San Antonio, and a lot of losses. 1-4 in the regular season. One of those we had our bench unit in, but what I'm saying is I genuinely think this is going to be a different situation. I think the Thunder play with poise. They've been there before, like you said, and I think too they're pissed off. I don't think they like how they've been talked about by the Spurs. Like I don't think they like their demeanor. I don't think they like the Spurs at all.
No,
There's clear
this
beef
is very
there in the
much a
regular
Cold
season,
War rival.
and it's about to explode. We're about to have some nukes exchanged down I-35, and I think not only just in terms of the attitude, but the personnel. J-Dub was fresh off of his wrist injury. He wasn't looking right. He looks a lot like, even though he's had his hamstring issues, version of J-Dub that's dealing with hamstrings like weirdness is way better than the version of J-Dub who was trying to recover from the wrist injury. So I feel like he's going to be fresh. He hasn't played in a month. That's a huge plus. PJ Mitchell barely played against the Spurs. I don't know if you have the numbers on that, but I think he didn't play. He only played one game against San Antonio. Not only one did he not play, but two, he's a better player than he was then, I think. And look, it's not a game changer by any means, but having Jared McCain is a plus. Having him into the equation, it's a different Thunder team, and it's a different ball game altogether. Given the NBA playoffs, especially with the added physicality that the Thunder have gotten away with, and that we've seen fluster San Antonio from time to time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very interested. I think this is an interesting topic to discuss. With how physical the Thunder play, and with the amount with the well, really with the infrequent whistle that they did receive, throughout the playoffs so far. Well, aren't we? You can check me in the semifinals in the second round. We received the least amount of whistles, correct?
Yeah, through
Like, yeah,
2 series, we have gotten we've gotten the least amount of free throws, I believe.
okay. So with the least amount of free throws, I'm very interested to see how the whistle goes in the Western Conference Finals against the possible Spurs matchup, especially with the blowback from Wimby and the elbow and his complaint about how physical they're being. I'm very interested to see how they're going to let this one go with a very physical team in the Thunder going up against the Golden Boy,
Yeah,
Silver's Golden Boy.
it's going to be very interesting to see. I'm intrigued to see just all of it. It's going to be a phenomenal matchup. The Spurs have the depth. Like the Spurs are the only team in the league that has the depth to match up with OKC. I think their wing depth, their guard depth is athletic enough to keep up with OKC. Obviously, Wembanyama just throws a crowbar into everything. Um, and we're going to dive way deeper into this
Yeah.
once we have the matchup decided. But
You never know.
that
We could be talking about the Timberwolves.
we very well could
Gonna be
be.
weird.
We very well could be, but it's going to be phenomenal theater if it's Thunder Spurs. I feel like we're about to enter a period of time where it's like several years of Thunder Spurs for massive implications over and over and over again. In the same ways that you have like, I don't know, like Bulls Pistons. That being like
Mhm.
or
Lakers
Celtics,
Spurs.
Lakers
I was gonna say
Spurs.
Lakers Spurs
Yeah,
in the early 2000s.
yeah. Throughout league history, you have these wars of attrition where one team gets the upper hand, and then the other team gets the upper hand the other year, and you go back and forth. And I feel like
And
the
the
Thunder,
same rosters.
yeah, the Thunder Spurs a little bit, even to a lesser degree in the mid 2000s. You had, you know,
Mhm.
really good San Antonio teams. Two really good San Antonio teams in 2012 and 2016 get beat by the Thunder. And then a really
67 wins in 2016.
yeah,
That
60.
that's an incredible record and an incredible team that just didn't get the shine they deserved because of the 73 win Warriors, and they got bounced by the Thunder in the second round. But
That Spurs team lost one single game at home during the regular season to the 73-win Warriors and lost 2 home games to that Thunder team. Like
yeah,
that, the Thunder pulling that off.
incredible games, by the
Yeah,
way.
we don't
Incredible
talk it.
games.
We don't talk enough about that series because the Thunder blew a 3-1 lead the next round. But that is the biggest accomplishment I think playoff wise that the Thunder have ever pulled off.
It's
Well,
definitely one of my favorite Thunder playoff series ever.
in that era, by the way, I gotta throw that caveat in there. We've won an NBA
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
championship.
yeah. Of
That's the
course.
biggest accomplishment. But in that era, I think that was the gold standard. That and 2012. You want to talk about playoffs like streaks? The Spurs started that playoff run 10-0, and then promptly went 0-4 against the Thunder in their next 4 games. That's
Wow.
crazy. Like the Thunder
Yeah.
they've had some battles against San Antonio, and I remember reading a story. I think it might have been Tim McMahon from ESPN who interviewed RC Buford about yeah, I know y'all have a budding rivalry, and he said, "Budding, it's been there. Like this has been a thing." And I feel like it's going to take its grandest stage here.
Mhm.
Obviously, I think in the next couple days we'll get the matchup, but I think over the next several years, if we don't get it this time, we're going to get it, and it's like I think we're going to get it several times, and it's going to. I think it's going to define this era. It's going to define this team. I think it's going to define this era of NBA basketball. Like that's how good I feel these two teams are going to be.
Yep. No,
So
I think you're exactly right. Just like the Lakers and the Spurs defined the 2000s, you
yeah,
know? This very
exactly.
much feels like that.
Yep, agreed. Well, Ford, thank you so much for popping on today, talking little Thunder hoops with me.
Show.
Excited to see what happens, who the Thunder meet in the Western Finals. We'll do a full preview for that. And thank you to 74C Meat Company for presenting today's show.
Shout out.
Yeah, use promo code Bobby at checkout on 74cmeat.com for an extra 5% off your order for everything but the grand opening box. I'm just saying, incredible stuff if you're in Oklahoma City. If you're in a certain area, we'll deliver it to you. You can pick it up. Look, weekend's coming up. Got to get something to throw on the grill to watch some of these playoff games as the playoffs advance and everything. That's a perfect way. We're in great grilling weather. Yeah. So again, 74cmeat.com. Link is in the description. Ford, thanks again. And thank you all for watching and tuning into this episode of Morning Thunder. We'll see you next time. Thunder up, everybody.